Hello, here's the Astrology Report for May the 6th to the 13th here on Astrology with Phoenix on Holistic Transformation. Let's go deeper. Okay, so I'm recording this on Wednesday the 5th. It's absolutely hammering it down here in Bristol at the moment. I've had to move out of the front room because we've got skylights and they are, well, I think it might be hail because it's either that or it's just incredibly heavy rain and it's so noisy. It was going to get picked up on the recording, so I've changed locations. And here is the reading for the 6th of May to the 13th of May. Looking at the themes for the week, Jupiter in Aquarius finale, the transition into Pisces. I'm going to spend about 5 or 6 minutes talking about that at the end of the video to go in more depth on that particular aspect. Pluto in Capricorn is still retrograde. We have the new Taurus moon, new moon magic on the 11th of May. Lilith is also conjunct there. Then we've got questions. Where is your voice? Gemini, Mercury, Venus and Taurus. It's time to get out of your comfort zone. Speak up when it is necessary. Are you ready for that? And a new bit that I'm trying to add in this week, see how it goes, is the shadow healing aspects. What immediately stands out as being active for the week ahead. Now, I start with Chiron. Chiron is in a position in this particular sign for about 7 or 8 years, so it is a continual theme. But it is an important one. Chiron's wound is the ego, so that has come up for healing. Now we know that Chiron's wound is the healing, but where's your wound? And that's where you can look at your own chart and see if the wounds match up, or if the ego can help, the healing for the ego can help fix your own particular wound. All 12 signs have an individual wound that is attributed to Chiron holding for you, which is held there at the natal chart at the time you were born. It's an interesting aspect to go and look at. Lilith in Taurus is here challenging possessions and feelings, also materialism. And then we've got Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto, kind of this combination at the moment. It's all about priorities being questioned. What is important to you? What is important to us? Are we a community, or are we just a selection of individuals that are just muddling along? You know, we've had this last year, it's almost been divide and conquer through lockdowns, you know, not getting into the pluses and minuses of that, but there's been a lot of separation, there's a lot of been going it alone, and now we are moving towards a time of more togetherness, if that's what we wish. So these 3 planets combining are kind of putting it on there. Are we all in? Are we all out? Are some of us in? Do we want off planet Earth now? Have we had enough? Ding ding, come pick me up. That's the kind of the shadow aspect that comes up today and this week. So moving on to the chart for the 6th of May. 11:11 is the chosen time. Doesn't look like there's too much going on, but then when you look at it in more detail, that's where you see where the aspects are. So going into the 6th of May in more detail, again, reading it out for those that don't want to watch and would rather do something else and listen and have it on in the background. The sun is on the 6th of May, sun is 16 degrees in Taurus. The moon is 17 degrees in Pisces, although that moves a lot quicker. Mercury is in Gemini at 4 degrees. Venus in Taurus at 26 degrees. Mars is now in Cancer at 7 degrees. Jupiter is in the critical degree, 29 degrees. Saturn's also in Aquarius at 13. Uranus and Lilith are both in Taurus. Neptune is 22 degrees. and Pluto's retrograde in Capricorn at 26. Chiron is in Aries at 10 degrees. The main aspects and notes of the 6th of May are that the Sun briefly sextiles the Moon, which is 60 degrees. The Sun squares up to Saturn. The Moon and Neptune is a conjunction. Venus is trine Pluto. Saturn squares Uranus, and Mercury squares Jupiter. This is all happening on Monday. Jupiter enters the final degree, which we'll talk about in depth later. And as I said about last week, Pluto is retrograde, which is in Capricorn. Venus moves on to Gemini on the 8th. Now, the second date that I've chosen is the 11th of May. That's where we've got the new moon. And the chart is quite different, and you can, I don't know whether you can picture it, but you can kind of see 120 degree and 90 degree aspects there. The chosen time is 7:59 p.m. UK time, because that's when the new moon officially starts. And for the 11th of May at 7:59, the Sun and Moon are both in Taurus at 21 degrees, so there's the conjunction. Mercury's in Gemini at 12, Venus in Gemini at 3, Mars in Cancer at 11 degrees, Jupiter's at Aquarius 29, Saturn Aquarius 13, Uranus is Taurus 10, Neptune Pisces 22 degrees, Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. Those things, because they're further out, they move slower. Lilith is conjunct with the Sun and the Moon at 22 degrees. So there's only it's kind of like, can't quite get to 21 degrees. Lilith moves just before the conjunction. So they're 1 degree out, but the conjunction is within a couple of degrees each side. So that's still seen as a very helpful aspect. And Chiron is Aries at 10 degrees. The main aspects and notes, it's the new moon, which is the whole point of this particular chart. Venus squares Jupiter, Sun and the Moon trine Pluto, Mercury trines Saturn, and Saturn squares Uranus. Jupiter enters Pisces on the 13th, and for a few months, and then it retrogrades. And I go into more detail on that at the end of this video. I'll try and put a time mark in there so that you know where to jump to in case you want to go back to it, or if you just want to skip everything and just hear about that. Okay, so let's try and put that all together now. This week sees lunar movement through Pisces, Aries. There are conjunctions in Taurus and ending in Gemini this week. These brief Taurus conjunctions will be Uranus on the 10th, Lilith on the 11th, the Sun on the 11th, which makes it a new moon, then conjuncting Venus and Gemini on the 12th at around noon. Mars in Cancer is positively and actively pursuing goals. It's a cardinal sign. It's cardinal water that is usually in flow. However, that Mars do energy is subject to the tides of Cancer, and it can be a bit crabby when challenged, so there could be some kind of crabby stubbornness of, I know what I'm doing, don't question me, don't second guess me, leave me to it, I'm doing this. That sort of energy. Saturn is in Aquarius, which is a home placement, but it is the second home, Capricorn being the first and the main one. As a goat, there's reason and logic, but in this placement, the water bearer, it becomes much more idealistic and individualistic here. It's on the precipice of freedom and martyrdom. The critic comes out for a second look at the rules and most likely likes what it sees, and hyper-focus is on perceived problems, that the greed, unfairness, unequalness that's abound. What are we going to do about it? This placement was active during March to July 2020, and then it re-entered Aquarius the week before Christmas. It lasts up until March in 2023, so we've got all of this year and next to go. Saturn squares Uranus, and the confrontation is about what really is important, what's right and what's wrong about the times that we live in. Where the F is this justice that we're seeking? There's a confrontation between the conservative values and the liberal values. There's the status quo and change. Yeah, so where do you stand, my friend? That's the big question that's asked with Saturn squaring Uranus. Now, interestingly enough, it's local election day here in the UK. In fact, here in Bristol, we elect 2 of our 3 mayors. Because having just one crappy leader wasn't good enough. Just don't ask. We also elect a police and crime commissioner and local councillors. And the energy of today is one of mixture. Rebellion and chaos is in the air. But remember that can be a double-edged sword. Chiron is still here with its wounded ego that doesn't want to admit any mistakes. Lilith is in Taurus wanting pleasure and wants her piece of the pie. Then Aquarius and Taurus energy might get eccentric rather than bringing about the full revolution kind of thing that we would like. Not to get too political for the spiritual, but Labour's Corbyn supporters have got that wound. There's a lot of feeling of betrayal, and Keir Starmer hasn't exactly led with glowing reports from many sides. It's not to say that he has done a terrible job. I don't think he has. I also don't think he's done a great job, personally. But it's an opportunity for Labour voters who were Corbynites to just go, nope, no, I'm not going for this man and choosing someone else. Now, that could be beneficial for a party like the Greens or the Liberal Democrats. And the Tories might rebel against their own kind. It's very unpredictable energy. So in short, it may be a damp squib at first sight. They might seem that nothing's really changed, status quo. But some of the things that will happen at this local election level with mayors and whatnot can lead to changes and higher learning and development further on. I'm trying to be optimistic here. Venus and Pluto are trine in Earth signs, so there is cardinal energy confronting that fixed pig in the sty that is Taurus. Mercury squares Jupiter, but I'll mention that when I talk about the critical degree of Jupiter in Aquarius, which will be the kind of section at the end to cover it all. So moving on to the new moon on the 11th, which is the second period that I picked out. Rather than 11:11, I've gone for 7:59 PM UK time, which is the time of the new moon. It's a good time for harnessing intentions and to plant the seeds. Taurus is a really good sign for planting as a earth sign. Getting your hands dirty, beginning those intentions. And we got through the full moon in Scorpio first, and the next full moon will be in Sagittarius, which is quite different energy, being on the Gemini Sagittarius axis, which is a good, well, questionable combination. So we have the moon, we have the black moon, we have the sun, all in Taurus. We have Pluto retrograde in Capricorn that's trine with them. It looks like a mixture to help harness change. Venus squares off with Jupiter, and that's part of the critical degree. Mercury trines Saturn, which is busy energy though, so that can lead to some blowback. So then while we're talking about challenges and we're looking at how we expand and how we challenge the justice system, which has been very loaded towards one side, it's not been equal at all. They're not going to give ground easily, and this is where Mercury trines Saturn shows that that could be where some of the blowback is coming from. So don't expect these massive changes, but it doesn't mean that we're not to sow the seeds, because that's all part of the process, and once we've sowed them we can reap them later on. So I think it is important not to feel downhearted at any point how things are going, because there is a bigger picture. I'm not going to sit here and just say trust the process, because we affect the process and we have to affect the process in order for this change to happen, as being part of it. That's part of the reason why I believe we're here. But do believe that we can change things. Moving on to dive a little deeper into the critical degree of Jupiter in Aquarius, so that's 29 degrees. Jupiter in Aquarius is the penultimate sign of the zodiac. It's the final air, a final positive sign, the final fixed sign, the final masculine sign. In terms of the journey of the zodiac, it is one that meets up the final transition, the transmutation that occurs at the climax of Pisces. So that means that the sign's finale, the 29th degree of Aquarius, is pretty powerful and important. Planet-wise, Jupiter is the fourth planet in astrology, with the Sun and the Moon not being planets. The glyph looks like a stylized 4, which is the alchemy symbol for its associated metal, tin. And Jupiter's Greek equivalent was only frickin' Zeus, baby. Oh yeah. As a planet, Jupiter is the part that represents faith and fortune, the expansion, progression, abundance, luck. Jupiter wants to learn. It's about knowledge and growth. Aquarius, on the other hand, is a chaotic rebel who wants and needs to shock the system. It needs to rebel against tyranny and promote just causes. It's the final masculine air sign that is fixed into place. Aquarius is ruled by Saturn, which is the rules and regulations, the controller of our galaxy, and also Uranus, which is the awakener, the upriser, the standoff against the rulers, the change through chaos planet. And it's having those two planets that can cause conflict within itself. Just as a sign, Aquarius is a very complex sign. Now, in its critical degree, Aquarius is a reformer. So it wants to change things to make things better, to expand humanity. But it is the eccentric energy of chaos that sometimes goes about it the wrong way. I've said a few times over the years that Aquarius is always a coin flip between genius and psychopathy, and I'm not kidding. For me, it's what makes Aquarius hard to read at times. There's no real surprise that so much has happened when this placement has been going on. Also see Saturn. Now, Venus squares Jupiter on the 11th of May. It's at 93 degrees, so not the perfect square, but pretty close. Remembering that squares are not generally seen as positive aspects. Venus in Gemini is a bit of a temptress. And the way I kind of picture it here, it's almost like it's hitching up one side of the dress, it's showing a leg, and then losing interest in just running away from you. This is all about temptation, and what is going to tempt you and tease you to try and get you off your game on and around the 11th. I'd be wary of that. Then there's the new moon in Taurus at the same time. Think of the old adage, be careful what you wish for. If you are manifesting magic at that time, which a lot of us do use the moon, it's one of the most fantastic things to connect in with on a spiritual level. Be grounded and clear. Not meaning to dampen your spirits, but just be aware of the surrounding energy. Read the room before you step into it. before you set your intentions for this new lunar period, just be cautious first. Now, by Wednesday night, Jupiter moves into the first degree of Pisces. You might think, well, that's all over quite quickly. However, not so fast, my friend. We'll come to that. Aquarius has brought in the water for Pisces to swim in, and my friends, swim in it we must, but not for very long. It's only going to dip its toes into the new energy, because with all things in this life, it's only temporary. Jupiter, which takes about a year or so to complete 30 degrees, or one sign of the zodiac, annually, will only get to 2 degrees in Pisces in 2021, and then it starts retrograding back through to 1 degree to 0 degrees, and then it will move back into the critical degree, so it will be in that degree retrograde at the end of July, early August. So that's going to be our second go at the critical degree, and then it's going to go back as far as 22 degrees, which I think is October time, maybe November, and then it's going to be moving. It's going to go direct again. It's going to move forward, and we're going to end up with a replay of this critical degree in Pisces, which would be the third time we've had the critical degree, the second time going forward at Christmas time. So it's not all about this time and this week, but it's an important week, and we will get another go at it. In case if you feel it hasn't gone very well, we get another go at this. So this all really adds up to the ingredients of change, of transformation, of progress. That's what the challenge is. It just depends whether we are up for it. You made it all the way through to the end of this video. Great, thanks for watching. Please like, share and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or the usual social media. This is Phoenix, saying goodbye.